right, this is Caleb Okachukwu, and I'm here with Tommy DeVito, and we're doing our pop culture interview. Tommy, how are you doing today?
Good, and yourself?
Good, good. Tommy is a star quarterback for Syracuse University, and today we're just going to be talking about just some topics, involving culture. What I'm saying, just things that a lot of people wouldn't think that athletes would have knowledge on. So, you play football for Syracuse. When did you start playing football?
I started playing football when I was 5 years old, and I started actually training to play quarterback when I was 6 years old.
Okay. So you would say that it was something that you were like born to do, like you've always just wanted to play the game of football.
For sure. Growing up, I played football and baseball, and then in the 7th grade, going into 8th grade, I knew that I was going to go to a private school, and the private school that I was going to go to, it's kind of like you pick one sport kind of deal. You can't do both, so I chose football, and I'm glad I did that.
Do you have any like siblings who who played football before you or no?
No, I'm the oldest sibling.
So oh, you're the oldest. Wow. So do you feel like you just picked up a football or something like that and it just made you want to play? Right?
Yeah, when I was younger, my dad loves football. He never played football. He played in middle school.
Yeah.
So I'm actually the only first football player in my family.
Wow, that's crazy.
So something that kind of just came to me, something that I enjoyed and had love for.
What drew you to it? Like, do you feel like it was was it flag or something like that? Like what?
Yeah, flag football. I think it kind of just came easy for me. I enjoyed throwing, so when I was playing baseball as well, I was playing pitcher, and I enjoyed that part of the game. And then when it came down to it, I ended up choosing football.
Oh, that's good. That's nice. So, do you feel like you said you love throwing, and do you feel like that's how you knew you were going to be a quarterback, just throwing the ball around?
For sure. Yeah, when I was younger, you could always tell that I had just naturally a stronger arm than a lot of the other kids on the field. So that's kind of just how it went. And one of the coaches in flag was like, "You're going to play quarterback," and kind of just rolled with it.
Okay. So obviously football's done a lot of things for you. Like you said, you transferred schools because of it. You went to private school and all of that. So for someone that knows that they want to play football since they were 5 or 6 years old, what do you feel like your life would be like if you hadn't chose football?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I never really thought about it. I always thought about what would happen if, God forbid, I had an injury at this day and age and what might happen. But as far as being younger, I grew up with sports, so I've never had to deal with anything besides that. All my friends always played sports. That's kind of how we became so close, and everything we did was always active.
Mm-hmm.
So, growing up without it, I'm not sure exactly what I'd be doing. Probably be in the house studying or doing something. But,
it's interesting you say that because you said you wouldn't know what you'd be doing if you didn't play football. Why do you think a lot of athletes don't? Because obviously, even if as an athlete you make it to the NFL or you make it pro, one day you will stop. So what do you say to the athlete that doesn't think about what his life would be like without his sport?
Right, just to always keep your options open, not just narrow down, because at the end of the day, I think everybody has to realize that football is not forever. And I think a lot of people, like myself, I'm sure when I was younger, got into the days that it's football this, football that, football everything. But at the end of the day, it's the real world. A lot of the greats only play for a couple of years, and you got to be lucky to play that long. So just to be able to have that game in your life for that shorter period of time, there's still a lot of life to live. So you have to definitely have a backup plan.
That's facts. That's really good. So you're a quarterback, and I'm pretty sure you've always been the guy on all the teams you've played for before college, right?
For sure.
So would you say that? So coming to college, obviously, your first 2 years here, you had to wait behind Eric Dungy. A great player. And how was that? Like, obviously, you were an All-American in high school, so you had the national notoriety, and you could have went anywhere in the country, but you chose to come here and wait. Just talk a little bit about what went into that decision and what made you still come here, knowing you would probably have to wait before you would get your chance.
Right, for sure. So recruiting process kind of started off slow for me. I received my first scholarship junior year of high school. Kind of went the Ivy League route, so Yale, UPenn, all those kind of schools. And then it started to open up towards Maryland, Rutgers, all the schools in my area, Boston College, obviously Syracuse. And so I wanted to make my decision early in high school because I didn't want to have to worry about it senior year. So at the time, took my visits. I enjoyed Syracuse. The coaches were real personable people. Someone that my family felt comfortable sending me with, that I was going to be spending a lot of time with. So, and I was closer to home because I am from New Jersey. So to be able to have that aspect of it definitely helped. But as far as waiting my turn, as a part of the game, I had to wait my turn in high school. So my freshman and sophomore year, I did not play on varsity. I started my junior year, so it's kind of the same thing that happened here. I kind of waited my first 2 years and waited for the next year to come because there's a lot of maturity that has to come with it. And I think nowadays there's a lot of kids that are like, all right, well, if I don't play as a freshman, then I'm going to transfer. And I think that's something that a lot of people have to open their eyes for.
Yeah. Wow, that's really good you say that. So obviously, just you didn't play your first years of high school, and you still managed to be a top quarterback in the nation. Where does that come from? Where does that? Obviously, it gave you that passion and that work ethic. Just where does that come from though? Just waiting like that behind, just like waiting to achieve that type of greatness.
Well, you just have to keep your head down. You have to know exactly what you want, and when you know what you want, you know what it's going to take, and that it's not going to happen overnight. So just keep having faith in that the plan is still there. The plan's going to work. There's going to be ups and downs, but to be able to just keep having faith in that dream that you have and keep just taking steps towards that every day.
That's facts. So okay, so obviously Syracuse is roughly 20,000 kids, and what's your social life like on campus? Obviously, you're an athlete. You're not a regular student, so obviously your life is very different. So, just talk a little bit about what's your social life like? Is like positive or negative?
Right. Honestly, I would say more positive, but obviously it could be both. After a loss, you can definitely tell the different vibes that you get on campus after a win versus a loss, especially with professors. How they act sometimes, they'll be very nice to you after a win. Oh, good game, this, that, the other thing. But then all of a sudden, a loss comes or a couple losses come. You can tell people might not want to talk to you as much, or might not want to ask you how your day's doing, and so forth and so forth. So, but I mean, as far as everything, everyone's really respectful. That's all you can ask for. You give someone respect, they give it to you back. So, I enjoy it.
That's good. So, obviously, your life isn't the same as a regular student athlete. So, what do you feel like is the disconnect between athletes and non-athletes? Like, what separates us? Why? Obviously, they don't play a sport. You do, but why is there a disconnect?
Honestly, I think it's just there's an argument that's always happened about time and time management. Obviously, a lot of other students, regular students, just participate in after-school activities and do whatever they have to do as far as clubs and groups, and I'm sure they're all busy as far as even working too, with having a job, but I think football is the same deal. It's like having a job. I think that some of the times the students just do not think it's fair that we go to school for free and that we didn't really work for it, even though we are here on a football scholarship, obviously for school, but that helps us get here as far as they were getting academic scholarships. So I think that's just a little bit of the fall off, is that some of the other regular students are just kind of mad that we don't have to pay for school and kind of think that we don't respect it as much.
I like that you said that. You say, kind of mad, and just going into the next question. Obviously, as an athlete, people look at you a certain way. Like, it's like whatever you do, people look at you, and you're held to a certain standard, and you're held, and the level of accountability you're held to is different from everyone else. Like, you can't do certain things, and there's certain things that you just have to do. So, how do you respond to the statement when you hear things like athletes are privileged, athletes, get whatever they want? How do you respond to that?
I think it's honestly funny to think that, because not a lot of them know exactly what we do or what we go through on a daily basis. It's honestly very stressful if you don't know how to contain your emotions. It's a lot of ups, a lot of downs, long days, long nights, and something that you've been passionate for and something that people have been doing for a long time, and not only juggling school but football equally as well. And then as far as having at-home problems that you might have to deal with, I know there's a lot of things that go into it, and I think that there should be some kind of way that they can kind of feel and see what our day is like and what we go through, as far as waking up at 5 a.m. and why that we have an 8 a.m. right after that, and then workouts to follow, and then film and all these other things going in, whereas some regular student might just have class that time and then that's it for the rest of the day. So I think there's a big fall off or potential fall off that happens, and that's some students should be aware of.
Well, I noticed you said words like equally and job. So that's interesting you say that, because obviously right now in America, the issue of athletes being paid is a big discussion just going all over the world. So Why do you feel like athletes should be paid, and if so or not, explain.
I think that athletes should get paid for their likeness. I think that is definitely something that should be implemented rather quickly. I'm going to use the example Zion Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
So, from Duke, they said his jerseys were selling off the chain. Like
Yeah.
everybody was wearing that. What do you wear? You wore number one, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wore a Duke number one jersey, and all because of him. They didn't just wear that number for anyone else.
Exactly.
And I remember the ticket prices were going crazy. All the views every time they were on TV was going up, and he saw none of that money. And obviously there's other players on the team, but the main hot topic and the hot target was Zion in the organization. So for him to not see any of that, I think was unfair, and I think that's something that should be implemented into the NCAA.
That's interesting. So, just going back into just the social aspect of just being an athlete, and obviously there are issues, like you said, athletes, we don't get rights to certain things because we're amateurs, we're not pros. So, I noticed, well, a lot of people have noticed that a lot of college teams, because of in the NFL, a lot of players were just taking knees during the national anthem. They noticed that a lot of players, a lot of college teams nowadays, keep their teams in the locker room while the anthem's going on. What do you feel about that?
You know, I never noticed that honestly until I got here in the college atmosphere. Because in high school, obviously, you're always out for the anthem, and that's just a part of it. You know, kind of like a ritual that I was always used to. You know, you run out with your team and then go through the anthem. I always thought that was cool. That always used to give me goosebumps. So to be able to be in a college atmosphere and not have that happen was something different for me and something that I thought was interesting until that was brought to my attention. But I definitely think that we should be out there when the anthem's going on to represent our country. Obviously, the NFL has its own deals of how they handle things, but I think the NCAA should allow us to be out there during that time.
Yeah. So do you feel like it's taking? So obviously, if there were players, if certain teams, I think not all teams are not out, but I think a lot of teams are not taking their players out during the anthem. Do you feel like because of this, it's taking away like athletes' right to speak up what they believe in? Because you might have some athletes who want to take a knee, but they're not even given that opportunity, and they're not even realizing that, like you said, you didn't even notice it until you got into Syracuse. A lot of athletes today don't even realize it. So do you feel like it's taking away their right to speak up on what they believe in without even given the opportunity to?
Yeah, definitely. I think that definitely takes away that right. I think that if NFL people can do it, I think that definitely should be implemented in college, because college athletes are always on a different platform. We're always watching under a microscope, but I think that we should be able to have the freedom to believe in whatever we choose, and everyone should be able to respect that at the end of the day.
Well, Tom, you seem like a well-educated young man, star quarterback for Syracuse University. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you, though.
Yes, sir.